please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
So my sense is that now that short covering has started in the right earnest, if Europe does not deteriorate and starts to stabilize and move higher, maybe you could see a fairly sharp short covering even here. So for the moment, for the next few days also, I think it's a fairly decent buy both on Nifty as well as Bank Nifty, because the market is really crunched into a corner and it was looking for a reason to bounce back. Sometimes even bad news can provide that reason. Having said that, it's clear that financials are coming back strongly. So Bajaj Finance is a buy with a stop of 1590, target of 1650. JSPL is a buy with a stop of 245, target of 262. And NIIT Tech is a buy with a stop of 800, target of 825.
Okay, and this short covering, if it were to come, would it change the direction per se or just for today?
See, for starters, for today, but actually, Bank Nifty futures is almost at its 200-day moving average. Even if they have to go down, you should expect a 3 to 5 day type of consolidation or up move, because everything is now sold down to the limit, and unless you create some buying, it's also difficult to now sell into the market. So that way, for the last 4 days, we've held on to 24,800, and similarly on the Nifty, 10,330, 350 thereabouts. So from there, it looks like there is resistance to go down. So once that happens, you can obviously hope for a pullback.
Fair enough. Ashwani, thanks very much for joining us with that perspective. So expecting short covering today. If Europe doesn't deteriorate, maybe even picks up, who knows. But 35 points lower on the Nifty so far, 10,361. Samira.
All right, let's get back then to our big newsmaker of the day. Uday Kotak says that fundamental valuations are still a little further away. He predicts a further correction in the market. In an exclusive conversation with Shireen, he says that a single-digit correction in mid-caps from current levels could actually make the markets healthy.
Has the mood soured somewhat? Of course, on account of global factors, local factors, the change as far as macros are concerned, but more so because of the trigger that we've just seen.
No, Shireen, you go back to January, early January, I did speak out about the fact that I was worried about
the possibility of a bubble in the mid-cap side, yes.
In a few stocks, particularly small and mid-cap. So I am glad that the markets have corrected since then, because otherwise you were just seeing first-time savers' monies going into the equity markets in some of the stocks, which could be very easily manipulated as well. So I'm happy from the point of view of longer-term system that the correction has happened. Let me move to fundamental valuations and then to economic growth. I think fundamental valuations are in the process of correction, and we will reach equilibrium at some point of time on a fundamental basis. We are probably still a little away.
When you say little, can you quantify that for us? How much do you expect?
Markets always surprise you.
What would be a healthy correction?
I think we have seen a close to 8 to 10% correction in the big caps, and probably a 20 to 30% correction in the small and mid caps. So somewhere in the single digit corrections from here is what I would, in the big caps, is what I would see as getting the markets to a fundamentally more healthy level. Now, whether there's 5%, 10%, I think that's something which would give fundamental corrections. But keep in mind, beyond fundamentals, technicals can move markets on either side quite a bit. And fundamentals are not static as well. It also depends on a lot of changing factors. So you've got to keep on moving your fundamental value with the changes. The good news as I see it today, okay, is over the last 3 or 4 years, whenever we would talk about chasing growth, we had a wonderful macroeconomic tailwind in our favor. Oil, we've seen it at $30, $40, $50. And our current account under control, fiscal deficit improving year after year. So we had a wonderful macro for the first 3 to 4 years post 2014. But micro was lagging the macro. This time around, as I speak to you, I think micro has picked up we are seeing growth on the ground, but the macro tailwinds are not as favorable as they were over the last 3 years. But I don't think macro has got very adverse, so I think there's still enough room for growth, and micro is chugging much better.
But
So
do you believe that
from a good macro to a challenging micro, we've moved to a good micro and a more challenging macro.
Okay, so that is Uday Kotak. A little more correction may make the market healthier, and we've got good micros and a little worse off macros, according to him. We take a very quick break. Our first on the show, I mean, with the news, of course, are the markets right there. No real movement. 27, 28 odd points on the Nifty, 10,361. Markets at the day's high. So 10,390 is where we are. 10,340. 391 is the high, so we're basically pushing higher as we speak. You'll see what I'm talking about. Sharp recovery on both the indices. I think same should be true for the Bank Nifty as well. The Bank Nifty is down about 27 points. 24,909 is where we are on the Bank Nifty. Again, yep, there you go. You see clearly that that is also pretty much at the day's highest point. Usually a fair bit of activity on expiry comes through in the last hour and a half, so the pattern fits right in. Remember, the market's gotten sold into pretty heavily in the series, and as we wrap up the series, there might be some covering, etc. kind of activity. Ashwani was alluding to that earlier, and I think we're starting to see that maybe come through a little earlier than usual. It's not yet 2, but you're starting to see that already. So that's where we are at on the broader markets. We'll also put up a contribution plate which will tell you exactly where this push up is coming from. Has to be a couple of heavyweights, help from banks, etc. maybe. The other story today that came through essentially was the government's plan to bring together PSU telecom companies, which includes MTNL, ITI, BSNL, etc., in a more strategic kind of way, so that they can become sort of gain more efficiency, reduce redundancies, etc. My colleague Ashmit Kumar caught up with the Telecom Secretary Aruna Sundarajan on the same subject. Let's just listen in to the conversation.
Different MOUs have different timelines, because some of them, so there are short term, there are medium term, and there are long term action items which have been identified.
Are we looking at, since we are looking at greater exploration of synergies, can we see this perhaps as a way of perhaps the first step in the MTNL-BSNL merger? Would that be a fair comment?
No, you already heard the minister say that the idea is to bring the two organizations together. But whether it will actually be a merger, that is not under consideration at the moment. You heard him say that.
Fair. At this stage, given the fact that there are a number of synergies being exploited, how confident are we in terms of achieving the 5G deadline of 2020? We are looking at, you said, very focused efforts being made by specific PSUs.
On the 5G deadline, we are extremely optimistic, and things are moving in the desired direction. And already, the building blocks that will take India to 5G, that's already beginning to be put in place.
All right, well, Pharma is having a good day today. So Sun Pharma, Aurobindo Pharma, both of them in the green, but the cloud of US FDA inspections still hangs over these companies. Ekta is here with some source-based information. Ekta, hi, what more can you tell us?
Well, both Sun Pharma and Aurobindo have been in focus for the past couple of days simply because of the kind of inspections that they're seeing. So Sun Pharmaceuticals, we do understand, and this is completely source-based because the company does not comment on regulatory developments and timelines, that the Halol inspection is currently underway, and we do understand that it is expected to probably end between today and tomorrow. So that continues to be in focus. Separately, we have Aurobindo, which is in focus as well. There is the Unit 4, which is an injectables and ophthalmology facility, which has been inspected by the US FDA as per sources. And we do understand that there have been some observations which have been issued, but the nature of the observations obviously at this point in time are not known. And separately, the Aurobindo management is also at the IIFL conference today. So maybe there is some amount of interactions which is leading to that kind of enthusiasm that we're seeing in the stock.